Okay, hi, my name is Warren. This is the very first episode of the Do You Know, Do You Care podcast, and I'm joined here with my co-host.
Hey Warren, Raheed speaking. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Fantastic. We're finally doing this. So, for the first episode today, we're going to be introducing ourselves. We're going to be talking about the podcast, what it's all about, and we're going to be talking about how we got here. So, I think I'll let you start. What is Do You Know, Do You Care?
Well, Do You Know, Do You Care is about giving young people a voice.
Of course.
I think as a youth worker and as an older person, the thing that we often think about is that young people don't step up because they don't really seem to be doing as much as they could. And sometimes it feels to me a little bit as if they don't care enough.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes older people, whether that might be your folks, whether that's people in power, people in education, maybe they sort of think that young people, they're not really in it, they're not really invested in it. And so therefore it seems to older people that sometimes young people are not stepping up. And so actually we ask the question, do you actually care?
Well, this is where it gets a bit funny because I'd like to sort of cut you off there on what you're saying, and I'd like to argue that there's actually more pressure on young people than there's ever been before. Yeah. And it sort of goes back to what we were laughing at when we first started this podcast, where it's you're too old to know and I'm too young to care. You're too old to understand that young people have all these pressures nowadays.
Yeah, we're disconnected. Yeah, older people do seem to be disconnected because we're not very good at listening. And often when older people think they know about younger people because, back in our day, or it was, exactly, been there, done there. And so actually what happens is that we end up not listening properly. And it comes down to those three horrible words: tokenized, marginalized, manipulated.
Yeah.
And I really do feel, and we've spoken about this, you're right, we have spoken this before, that actually is the place that young people feel that older people are at.
Yeah.
And so younger people think that older people don't know.
Yeah.
Which is where Do You Know comes from.
Exactly.
Cool. So that's the Do You Know, Do You Care.
I'm on the very same boat as you. I do feel like young people need a voice, especially in Luton. Luton especially, I feel like young people need a voice.
Why especially in Luton?
Because think about it. We lack a lot of opportunity here, and we lack a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you get a lot of people sort of turning to more antisocial behaviours, is that lack of things to do around town.
Okay, so we've spoken about this before as well, in that older people tend to say it was all different in our day.
Yeah.
Of course it was going to be different. It was different times. It was different people. And so therefore it is going to be different. But when you say lack of opportunities, what sorts of opportunity? Is it the type of opportunity, or is it how much opportunity, or might it be both?
I'd say it definitely could be both. When you say how much opportunity, what immediately springs to mind is you have opportunity in the sense that you could get a part-time job, maybe at McDonald's or KFC, and not to really like slate on anybody that works in those types of places, but how far will that take you? What about apprenticeships that take you into careers that pay a very comfortable salary?
Okay, so that's kind of like education and employment and stuff, but how many young people have we got in Luton that are really thinking about that? I mean, when did you first start thinking about work?
That's an interesting question. I think maybe...
Was it 16 plus when you were sort of like, right, okay, I'm not going to rely on my folks, or were your folks basically saying, don't rely on us anymore?
I think it's more in high school when you reach about 16, they really start telling you, these are your GCSEs, if you don't pass these, this is going to be like a chain and ball weighing down on you for the rest of your life. And for everybody's information, it's not, okay? It really isn't like that.
It isn't. No, that's right. Life doesn't start and end when you're 16, of course.
No, of course not.
Okay, cool. So pressure in terms of money and being able to do something in terms of employment started at 16. So what about when you were younger? What sorts of opportunities were you looking at before you were 16?
Bro, I was not self-aware when I was 16. When I was like pre-16.
We've spoken about this before, that you developed consciousness.
Yeah, I know, but I developed consciousness at like age 16.
What kind of vegetable were you?
No, but you just like 16? Wake up one day and you think, wow, like I could go to the moon.
Do you actually feel that like it actually
one day you just wake up and you think, wow, like I've got an entire life ahead of me. I better do something about it.
But
like
Go on.
It's embarrassing, man. When I was when I was in like year 7 and they told us we take GCSEs, right? I wasn't even thinking that far ahead. I was like, oh, I didn't even think high school was like coming to an end anytime soon.
Let me tell you a quick story about back in the day. So actually, I was one of the first people who ever did GCSEs, and I remember going to secondary school back in the day, and I remember it was the first time I'd been on a tube, and I had a tube pass, had a train ticket, a weekly train ticket. I think it cost like £1.50 for a week to get 3 stops to my school and back. And
so that's a one-way bus ticket nowadays.
And I remember, yeah, absolutely. And I remember what happened is I lost my train ticket for the week, and I had to walk all the way home. And I remember walking home and waking up the next morning and feeling absolutely awful. But the other thing I actually felt, the burden of responsibility was, I've got to study because my GCSEs are only in 5 years' time. I was such a geek.
Can imagine little you with like a massive rucksack.
I had a massive I did have it. No, I didn't actually have a rucksack. I had a leather bag that I used to hold. Questionable. It was white. It was a white leather bag, and actually it's from my dad's company. So it was crazy. So actually, you and I we would not have been mates in school.
No.
I would have been a nerd and you would have been like, so what between year 7 and 11, what were you doing?
Gaming.
Gaming. Well, here's the thing, you see, because back in the day, the only games that we had, I think probably around year 9 maybe, was the first year I understood gaming, and it was a Commodore 64.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You're that old?
That old.
That's crazy,
Stop it. Yeah, so Commodore 64, and it wasn't even mine. It was my mate's Commodore 64. I used to go around and play on his Commodore 64.
That's crazy.
And we used to play Street Fighter. You remember Street Fighter?
Yeah, of course. I've played Street Fighter.
We used to play Street Fighter, and I can't even remember. What else did we used to play? It was basically Street Fighter, Ken and Ryu, and God knows who else. Yeah. So we wouldn't have been mates.
Nah, maybe based on Street Fighter.
You'd have probably been beating me up or something. Hey, were you into sports?
Nah,
you went into sports.
No, I wasn't good at it. I wasn't like popular enough for that.
Cool. I think we've kind of lost the thread, but that's
we've really drifted away from the topic.
So tell me a little bit more about opportunities. You said, what sorts of opportunities would you, or maybe other people have liked, to have seen, other than the kind of work opportunities?
Well, let's think about what we're doing right now. Right, let's really sort of go back to what Do You Know, Do You Care means for a second.
Okay.
Right, what we've got in front of us here, right, but behind the camera, what I can see is a team of young people, and that's what we've done. We've given young people an opportunity, and we've given something to put on their CV, and like that's just what I think we need more opportunities like these, where you get an amazing set of skills, you get to meet an amazing set of people from all different backgrounds. I think we've done something really great here.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a team of about 10 young people, all born and bred Lutonians. They all doing different jobs: camera operators, host, researcher, producer, director, hair and makeup, governance, everyone. So we've got an editor, so we've got everyone. Got a full team. Cool.
Hair and makeup coming soon.
Hair and makeup coming soon. Yeah, I know. That's why you're wearing your cap. Do you want to take it off and show? No.
No. That's a touchy subject. All right. Don't mention that again.
Not a touchy subject. That sounded a bit dodgy. Cool. No worries. Cool. Anyhow, so if people want to get in touch, bro, seeing as you're the host, how can they get in touch? How can they check out? You
can find us on everything and anything.
You cannot find
us. Yes, you can. You can find us on everything.
Typical young person does not know.
Right.
Does not.
You can get us on. You can get us on TikTok, Instagram. Right, we'll be on Facebook soon. Hit me up on BlackBerry Messenger. Right, email me on Yahoo.
Don't hit him up
Snapchat.
on BlackBerry Messenger. So the socials are @Luton Do You Know, @Luton Do You Care, or you can follow us on. You can follow us on Spotify and all the other usual podcast channels as and when they come out. But you can also email us if you want to get involved on Luton, @Luton, no, not @Luton, Luton Do You Care, Luton Do You Care, Luton Do You Know, Luton Do You Know @gmail.com, Luton Do You Know @gmail.com, or This podcast is powered by Youthscape, delivered by Youth Network. Check us out on youthnetwork.org.uk. Bro, I'm fasting, but I feel like I need a break. I feel like I need a drink, but I think I've got another 6 hours to go.
Another 6 hours to go.
6 hours to go. Fast number 10, everybody. Today, 10 or 11, depending on where you're at. Should we have a break? I'm knackered.
Let's have a break.
Cool. Let's have a break.
Welcome back from the break.
Welcome back from the break.
Welcome.
Everybody went on a break. We went on a break.
Okay, hang on. All right, can we clap one more time?
No, let's not do it. Let's keep it rolling. We're professionals. We know what we're doing.
Okay, all right. So, part one. Stop laughing at me.
No, laugh with me.
Okay, alright, so after our short break, we're back.
We're back. Alright, carry on.
Yeah, we're back from this side of the room, back to this side of the room.
We're back with the Do You Know, Do You Care podcast, part 2. Main host Warren.
Yeah,
right,
co-host Raheed. We're going to talk a bit about Youth Network, aren't we?
Talk about Youth Network,
yeah.
Okay.
And in front of us is the man, the myth, the legend himself, the guy that started it all, Mr. CEO, Mr. El Presidente.
All right,
take it away.
Shut up. None of that. Youth Network. Youth Network's all about giving young people a voice, giving them an opportunity. And so when I first moved to Luton, it was really weird because quite a few mothers of younger people that I kind of met in the mosque, in the community, they were coming up to me and they were sort of like, you're a youth worker, we've seen you doing little bits here and there, because I was doing some voluntary, I was doing what Youth Network was very much in a voluntary capacity, and they're like, where are the opportunities? And I was signposting, and I was like, go here, go there, why are you laughing? and I was trying to signpost, and this is serious shit, man.
No, I'm trying.
I mean, what's going on?
It's nothing.
All right, anyhow, scratch that. Don't listen to him. You don't know what he's doing. Bloody young people nowadays, huh?
No.
Wants an opportunity and then can't keep a straight face.
No, I'm just thinking the funniest stuff in my head. I'm like, I can't say it.
All right, don't say it. So I was signposting people to sort of like, yeah, you can go here, you can go there. I won't mention any organisations, but there's different organisations in different places, and there's different types of offer for different people. So South Asian people, Christian people, sports organisations, stuff in town, stuff in Marsh House, and it was working for some people, but it didn't appear to me that there wasn't enough for other people. And then there were other organisations coming in who were basically working with NEETs being those young people who are not in education, employment or training.
It's not a nice word to call them.
well, that is the official terminology that's called, and that didn't necessarily work for anyone else either. So we set up Youth Network, and what I always wanted to do is I wanted to be informed by young people.
Okay.
So there's certain things that I can do, and there's certain things that you can do, but actually when we come together, we get the full package. So I'm assuming you don't really want to read policy documents.
No, of course
you don't
not.
necessarily want to speak to counsellors. You don't want to have to, speak to various people. And the other thing is, as I said, tokenised, marginalised, manipulated. Even if a young person was to go and speak to the CEO of etc., maybe you'd be a little bit, he's a good boy. We'll get that done. It doesn't really happen. So actually my role is actually to pull together the systems and structures, but I'm always informed by young people, and you know this. And so therefore Youth Network is a place to support young people's voice and action, but also give them learning and developmental opportunities, a little bit like our podcast. We are not a professional crew.
No.
But we are professional in how we work.
Yeah.
And so therefore we're learning, we're moving, and maybe this isn't the best setup, or it's not the most professional setup or whatever, but we don't care, because, you know, the whole essence of this is that it's okay to make a mistake, but you learn from that mistake, or you learn from your experience. Let's not call it a mistake. You learn from your experience, and then you move
100%. And
you try things. And so I guess that's what Youth Network's always going to be about. And it's always about attitudes, behaviors, and skills. We're not, whilst we are a youth work organization, we have youth workers who do that informal education with young people, you know, so we'll do outreach work, but we're not going to probably ever have a great big shiny building like this fantastic building we're in at Youthscape. We're not going to be Youthscape, because Youthscape and other organizations are amazing at what they do, and all power to them. But we do things slightly differently. So we're working in collaboration with Youthscape. So, you know, young people from Youthscape will have an opportunity to come and give their voice, to learn the skills, to do the sorts of things. So that's where we were at. And a little bit like when you and I met.
Yeah, of course. That was a while ago now, wasn't it?
How did you find it, and what did you think when you first came across Youth Network and the people we work with? Tell us about your experience.
I had no idea anything like that even existed in Luton. Like I didn't, like, nobody was ever really doing these things or talking about these things.
Sure.
So when, obviously, you know, we met for Ellie Mae, that's my sister.
Yep.
So when Ellie Mae comes to me and says, "Oh, I'm getting involved in like this thing called climate conference. It's really good. Young people come together and they make something happen." And I thought, well, that sounds fantastic, because climate's something we should all be caring about, and being able to do it with people like-minded people and people sort of like your age that you get along with, I thought that was really something special. So we got into contact, and immediately there was just chemistry there. Right, we met up on the training days. We were getting stuff done, and I've got to say, it's easily some of the most fun and like rewarding sort of thing that I've done in a very long time. So it's really special to be part of, especially first year, second year, and I can't wait for us to do it again for a third year.
1st and 2nd of July, Youth Climate Conference 2024. You'll get some information. So before you met us, as the Youth Network team, had you, being honest, did you really think climate change is something that's high on my agenda?
It was never high on my agenda. It was something something I knew was serious, but it's never high up on the agenda.
So what was the hook for you to actually work with Youth Network?
I think it had to be just everything. It just has this sort of pull to it. You know what I mean? So cool. you just sort of, yeah, I don't know. I can't describe it, but it's really something great to be doing.
Awesome. So for me, what I think the pull for Youth Network and working in any youth organisation is actually the mix of young people. Yeah. It's when you mix and you hang out with other young people and you're doing something purposeful. Like you said, you hadn't really thought, okay, I'm on the sort of cusp of wanting to be the next Greta Thunberg of Luton, which we need one. We need one. Where's the next Greta Thunberg of Luton? Let's do it. So actually, or maybe even be better, or whatever. Just do your thing. I'm rambling. I ramble a lot. So, what was I saying?
We're talking about young people coming together.
Yeah, so it's about young people coming together. And when young people come together, that's when amazing things happen.
It's something crazy to watch. Because you remember when we did it, it was how many? It was like maybe 20 strangers in the room, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we had about 50 people on the first one who were sixth formers and who were mostly sixth formers.
I mean, like the training though, like just quickly to talk about the training. It was like 20 people in the room that I'd never met. The only people I knew in that room was Ellie Mae, and I knew one person from high school. Did you know Sharma? No, never.
Yeah. So we had 12 climate ambassadors who we trained up, and they designed and delivered a youth climate conference.
And it happened all just like that in 2 days.
Yeah, well, it was 2 days worth of training. There's a lot of work around the side. And I think for me, the really important thing is having that peer mentoring. Yeah. So those of you who've not been to a youth climate conference, basically what it is
what are you doing if you haven't?
Yeah, absolutely, get involved. And we'll give everybody listening an opportunity to get involved. So what it is that it's a group of young people who are now all at university, who've done this for 3 consecutive years this year. What we do is we design and develop curriculum, if you like, around climate change. So we've spoken about biodiversity, transport, food, and energy. This year we're focusing just on biodiversity and food. And what we do is we take students out of classroom and give them opportunity to do practical things and learn about climate solutions. So it's older people speaking to other young people about climate change in very solutions-based focus. And the amazing thing for me is that I'm just around it, and me and the other adults in the room, we're just around it. And it's really fantastic that you guys can actually do that, and it's paid work, which is really cool. And it's a fun learning and developmental experience, I guess.
Of course, I think that sums up Youth Network perfectly. And obviously, there's other projects that we've done which people can learn more about on the website, right? Which is
youthnetwork.org.uk. New website, which was in itself pulled together by the wonderful Hamna Baig, who's been with us since she was 16, and now she's 20, possibly going to be 21. And she's a trustee of Youth Network, so she's my boss, which is really important. So we've always had young people who've been trustees of Youth Network as well. So we've always had young people as trustees of Youth Network. So shout out to Callum, Angelina, and Joanna, who've been previous trustees, all under 30. Awesome. Cool.
Thank you for watching the first episode of the Do You Know, Do You Care podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, that is @LutonDoYouKnow, and on TikTok, that is @LutonDoYouCare. If you'd like to get involved, make sure you drop us a line on lutondoyouknow@gmail.com. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.